Welcome to another video. If you're new to the channel, I'm a top author on the TradingView platform, and what you will learn on this channel is better than most of the paid courses that there are out there. So make sure you consider subscribing. And without further ado, we will get in the video where I will be giving, as usual, some more free analysis, education, and value for all of you. So let's get straight in the video. Okay, so there are a few pairs that I want to speak about. The first one is AUD-CHF, and as usual, I will try to fill the videos with not only analysis, but more the most education that I can. So let's start from AUD-CHF. So what we have from a weekly perspective on this pair. Now, always remember, the monthly, weekly, and daily time frames are for direction. The 4 hours is where you're supposed to be looking for a swing trading entry. Now, on the weekly time frame, what do we have? Now, on the weekly, it's pretty clear that overall we are at a very strong support zone. What you can see here is that overall we had very strong support. So the market bounced away from this area quite aggressively in the past, and now the market is exactly at the same area, and we can expect from this area to see some sort of retracement, or anyway a rejection from that zone, a shift away from it. And if we look at the monthly time frame, on the monthly we have basically even more confirmation of this, because what you see here from the monthly, this was the rejection zone that we were seeing on the weekly time frame. But if you look at the monthly, look at what we have: extremely strong support at this level. Also in the past, look what we had here. We had extremely strong support. Now, if we go and see, and this is basically the exact same area. So support here, and again, support here, tapped already. So this is a very strong area that we want to highlight on the chart. Now, if we go and see what we have from a COT perspective, or what is going on AUD and what is going on CHF. Now, if we look at the hedge fund data for AUD, the COT data, what do we get? So if you look at the longs, okay, you can see that overall longs have been increasing. We went from 33K longs, hedge funds increased their longs all the way up to 52 and then slightly decreased. Okay, so they don't have strong longs at the moment on AUD. And if you look at the shorts, that is where the interesting part comes into play, because look at what we have with the shorts. The lowest value since a long time. We were at 97K shorts and they went down all the way to 61K shorts. And they're basically closing up massive amount of shorts. Look, minus 8K shorts, minus 14K shorts, minus 2K shorts. And in fact, the net positions are actually increasing, and we have the highest value since a long time, which is 19K net positions. Very high value lately. So, because we were all the way down at minus 47K net positions. Now, what does this mean? So if you see a market that is going to the downside, okay, it's going to the downside, and you want to take it lower, do you think you would be closing those shorts? Obviously not. You're not closing shorts if you want to bring the price lower. And when you see the data for AUD, is actually AUD USD, because on the spot, obviously our currencies are traded against the USD. So when you look at AUD, you say, okay, but AUD USD actually, I can also show you the chart, AUD USD has been going to the downside all this time, okay? All this time, AUD USD has been going to the downside. But what hedge funds have been doing? Hedge funds have been closing their shorts. Okay, while the price was going down, they were closing their shorts. So what does it mean? It means that the market is so near to start a push to the upside, because they're simply interested in buying from lower. So very important thing to say this. And now if we look at what we have from a CHF perspective, we have a similar situation. Why? Because if you look at the longs, basically they have been decreasing slightly the longs, but if you look at the shorts, we have a massive closing of shorts. Massive closing, but they never added proper longs. So all the strength that you have seen lately on CHF is only given from banks and hedge funds closing up their short positions. So very important to say this. And in fact, if you look at the net positions, it's the first time that we are actually in a positive number. So we have more longs than shorts on CHF, which obviously is CHF USD. And USD CHF, as you know, has been actually moving in this way. Okay. look at how USD CHF has been moving lately. If we go, for example, on the daily time frame, this is what you can see. Overall, is starting to basically make the push to the upside that we were expecting it to make. Why? Because we had the information from a weekly perspective, so we can expect the push to the upside. And the market has now started to print basically what we expect from this pair. So CHF is starting to get weak again, and AUD is supposed to get strong, meaning AUD CHF is supposed to make a push to the upside. You are right. So if we go and see again what we have, we already analyzed basically the monthly, and we saw that we have strong support from a technical perspective. We analyzed the weekly, and we've seen that we have also strong support on the weekly. Plus, what do we have from a weekly perspective? We know that the market already completed this head and shoulders with a nice impulsive move to the downside. And after an impulse, you want to see a retracement. Now, a retracement to where? Where is the first level that the market will find resistance? The market will find resistance at the 382 Fibonacci retracement taken from the high to the low. Okay, so as an overall upside target, as the first target, we can actually be looking at the 382 Fibonacci retracement taken from the high to the low. Now, why is this? This is a very simple concept. If you want information on a retracement, you have to take your Fibonacci on the impulse. If you want information on the next impulse, you have to take your Fibonacci on the retracement. So, and this holds true in general, as always, the previous leg, if you want to have the most accurate, basically, retracement or extensions with your fibs. Now, if you go down on the daily, what you can see now, the market went exactly for the test of the zone that we wanted to see. Now, there's one thing that I want to show you, okay? If we go again on the weekly, there's one thing that I really want to show you. If we go on the weekly and you go down to the line chart, okay, this is a trick that you're supposed to be using, because if you go on a line chart, the weekly and monthly closes are very, very strong levels, okay? And what you realize if you do this is that overall, you clearly see that that is exactly the level that the market topped. If we go down on the daily, we can see that even more clearly. The market hit exactly the weekly low, basically the weekly close, which is something that happens over and over again and something that does not surprise me. Now, if you remember this horizontal ray, what is it? Is our overall upside target for the pair, the 382 Fibonacci retracement of the weekly. So this is our overall upside target, and it is a target that makes a lot of sense. Why? Because what we can see here from the daily is that this is the previous support, now turn resistance. So we are targeting a good area. Now we can adjust it even more by putting it exactly in this supply zone. So basically what do we get is our very precise target to the upside. So we expect AUD CHF to make a push to this level, also filling in this gap. So this is what we want to see. We want to definitely see the market hit this area. So what we will be doing with the students, we will be monitoring price action on the 4-hour time frame inside of this region for a potential push to the upside to this level. And even better, it will be to see this level break, because if this level breaks to the upside, then at that point we have another very good setup on the retracement inside of this level for another swing trade to the upside. Okay, and if our rules for entry, and only if our rules for entry, always remember, we are always reacting, never predicting. If conditions are satisfied, then we can trade. If conditions are not satisfied, we cannot trade. That is how it works. So, and that is how you're supposed to structure your trading plan as well. You need to have a clear set of rules that you know they work because you have back tested them and live tested them. And basically you apply those rules over and over again because you know they work. And again, if inside of here our rules for entry will be satisfied, then we will definitely be interested in another long for the completion of this impulse correction and impulse pattern to the upside. So this is overall what we will be monitoring on AUD CHF. It will be pretty interesting to follow this pair on the 4 hours to see how the development is and if we can or cannot take our trades. Now, another pair that I want to speak about because we're having some development is GBP USD. Now, GBP USD at the moment is a quite interesting pair to follow. Now, the last time that I made a video here on YouTube, basically we spoke about the fact that the market was at this very strong support zone, which was previous resistance, now turn support, and from here we expected the push to the upside. However, on the 4 hour time frame, the market never showed any kind of confirmation that it was ready to make the push to the upside. It just kept printing lower lows and lower highs, rejecting the high here, again lower high, and if you look at the lows, always creating lower lows. So absolutely zero confirmation for a push to the upside or any kind of bullishness or basically buyers in this market. So obviously we could not take our long, and at the moment the price has broken to the downside. However, does this surprises us? No, this was our second plan. We knew that this could happen. Why? Because it is pretty clear that overall this was too easy. Okay, when you see something like this, it's too easy. You just clear trend line, support, 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 and then the market goes back up. It's not going to happen. Okay, it's too simple and everybody can read it. And if everybody can read it, banks cannot place their orders because they have too much money to handle, too much money to trade. So what they have to do, they have to manipulate the market to basically bring people to the wrong side and use their orders to actually buy in this case or sell. But in general, they use the orders of other players to fill in their big orders. So how will they play it out in this case? So first of all, what do we know? There are a lot of stop losses below this area. That is for sure, because a lot of stop losses will be placed below these lows. So a good idea for banks could be to bring the price here, stop out all the traders, and then make the push to the upside. Now, why we are so bullish on GBP? We are so bullish on GBP because look at what we have here. They went from 35K longs to 64K longs, and they went from 88K shorts to 39K shorts. So they closed a massive amount of shorts and opened a massive amount of long, which is something that they don't do unless they want to bring price higher. But we can clearly see that they're not ready to do it because all their orders are not in yet. And if you look at the net positions, we went from minus 52K to plus 25K. So massive from negative to positive. So very, very strong increase in the strength of GBP USD. So how we will be looking at it with students? As usual, we will be looking at it from a reactive perspective and not predictive. So we will wait for this break to the upside. If price will break back above this trend line, then what we will have on the retest of this area, and this is something that holds true for all fake breakouts in the market, okay? If you have also a horizontal level, okay, and the market is bouncing away from it, if the market makes a fake breakout, breaks back below, on the retest, you can expect continuation to the downside. And this is basically something that we expect also at the moment. Basically, if the market will close and if, so as usual, be reactive and not predictive. So if the market will break back above the trend line, at that point, we will know that the manipulation is over, and then we can be looking for a long. And at that point, we will definitely be interested in this long, and we will be taking it with a very good risk to reward and probabilities to the upside for this explosion. So we will definitely be monitoring with students for this potential long if the conditions will be satisfied after the fake breakout will be clearly printed. So at the moment, if we will have a break of this trend line, all retail traders will start to short, which should be good for banks. Now, one thing to keep in mind, you have to wait for the market to break back above because the market could always continue lower and then make the push to the upside. You never know when the manipulation is over. That is why you have to, it's not okay to just look at the orders from banks. You also have to know how the market moves, how the patterns are, and how the market really works. At that point, you can trade easily. So this is overall what we will be looking at on GBP USD. The last pair that I want to speak about is basically a CAD JPY, because it's a pretty interesting pair. Now, I made an analysis on TradingView, I believe it was yesterday or today, and basically this is what we had on it. Now, the market clearly had very strong support at this area. Okay, that is something clearly that we see. We have previous resistance here, which is strong support, and from here we expect the market to make a push to the upside. And if we go down on the daily time frame, what do we get on the daily? The same thing. Okay, we know that here there is support. We know that the market made all of this push to the downside, and we still didn't have any kind of valid and strong retracement. So overall, we are at a very strong area that we expect the market to bounce away from. Now, here is the interesting part. Look at what we have on the CAD and look what we have on the JPY from an order flow perspective. So what banks are doing now. Look at what we have on CAD. We went from 47K longs all the way up to 74K longs. And if you look at the shorts, we went from 52 to 36, which is a low level for the CAD. So CAD is getting pretty strong, and we can see this also in the net positions. Net positions are increasing, so CAD is getting pretty strong. And if we see at what we have on the JPY, we can see that overall, banks are actually adding a lot of shorts. Okay, they're adding a lot of shorts, which is a good thing because it means that at some point JPY is supposed to get weaker. The strength that you see now is coming from these orders that are adding, but at the same time, they're adding a lot of shorts, meaning that actually JPY is supposed to get weaker in the long term. We don't know exactly why, but they're starting to build their short positions. And in fact, if you look at the net positions, they're actually decreasing massively. 44K is pretty low if you look basically in the past. It's one of the lowest levels. So CAD-JPY is definitely supposed to make a push to the upside. So how we will be approaching it with the students? As usual, we will be monitoring price action inside of this area, and then we will be waiting on the 4-hour time frame for one of our confirmation, waiting for the market to break to the upside. If the market will move to the upside, then we will definitely be targeting this high. And if we will get one of our valid entries, then we will definitely be interested in this long for the long term to see basically how much CAD can get strong and how much JPY can get weak. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you smash that like button. It really does support the creation of more free analysis and education for all of you. Now, if you still haven't, make sure you go and check out the mentorship program. There is the link below because it's a very complete program. You first get all the rules of my strategies and then you trade them live with me. Every day you get a new daily market breakdown, and you also have me answering all your questions each and every day in video format so that I can explain you exactly, give you basically the best answer that I can give to you. So without further ado, I invite you to go and check it out or go and watch the next video.